Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is pure, real food. It's just how hard is it to get pure, real food? You know, it's easy to go to a farmer's market for a restaurant and pick up some local eggs, some local beef, things like that. But then once the restaurant gets it back into its kitchen, that's where it can really meet a disaster. It's a disaster waiting to happen, actually. It can meet so many other ingredients that have no integrity, that are polluted. The list goes on and on of what can happen. See, in the winery world, you can grow the grapes organically in the vineyard, do the best job you can possibly with the agriculture of the grapes. But then when you bring the wines, the grapes actually into the winery, that's where everything just goes down the drain, and they just do whatever. And you know, winemaking might not be the best example, but they're adding sulfites, they're adding egg whites, they're doing things, they're adding sugar to it to help the yeast get along. They're doing things that really aren't organically as they were out in the field. Same thing happens in a kitchen. Chefs go to the farmer's market, chefs buy from a food hub, they buy some good ingredients and then it gets back into the kitchen only to be tainted with other ingredients that are very inorganic, that may be toxic, that may just be like, wow, what in the world am I eating with my local barbecued pork ribs? You might want to ask the question next time you go to a farm-to-table restaurant. So I'm going to show you a label to the most popular barbecue sauce, one of the more popular barbecue sauces in America. And Kraft Foods makes it. Here's the ingredients, okay? Ingredients: tomato puree, water and tomato paste. Of course, those are non-organic. Who knows what's in those? Who knows how the tomatoes were grown? Who knows where they were grown, what they were sprayed with, this and that. As a general rule, though, when a company is using a product to process it, typically they don't buy the best quality. So for example, Kraft Foods here, whatever Foods Hunts, they're not going to the market to buy the most beautiful looking tomatoes for their barbecue sauce. They just want the cheapest tomatoes possible. They don't care how they look like, because they're going to fix that down the line with probably food coloring and adjust it somehow. So they're not going to worry about buying #1 quality tomatoes that you would look for when you go to the store, or that a chef would look for to serve in a restaurant. So, with that being said, because they're not #1s, they might not be as sprayed as much. Like example, this goes with lemons. Lemons that get juiced and processed and packaged into lemon juice are much uglier than their counterparts that they're selling in the store. So there's less that goes into those, less maintenance that goes into the stuff that's sold for industrial use, which sometimes means less sprays. That might be the only good thing here. You're not trying to sell the whole apple, you're selling the apple cider or the apple juice. Apple doesn't need to look good to juice. Next ingredient, high fructose corn syrup. Definitely from genetically modified corn, most likely. Vinegar. Folks, vinegar is probably one of the more detrimental foods you can actually consume. Vinegar is acetic acid. It's diluted 20 parts to 1. If you were to consume acetic acid straight up, you'd be in a lot of trouble. You'd be in a lot of health consequences from consuming acetic acid. But once you dilute it 20 parts to 1, and you call it white vinegar or red vinegar, you can start putting that in whatever you want. There's a reason why your grandmother would take the chicken and put it in the sink and throw vinegar in it, because vinegar kills. It kills a lot of things. Now, there are better vinegars to consume. For example, apple cider vinegar that is raw, unfiltered, unprocessed. So there are better vinegars, but with the standard vinegar that you go to buy, like we use a lot of vinegar in my restaurant. White vinegar, white distilled vinegar, a lot. But we use it to clean, because folks, it kills stuff. We use it to clean it, and it's an acceptable cleaning agent from the health department, from the Green Restaurant Association. The Green Restaurant Association loves vinegar because it's not really a true chemical in the sense of buying a soap that's loaded with fragrances and other chemicals. It's a biodegradable. And it cleans glass extremely well, folks. Windows glass, we use it a lot to clean. We use it, my dishwasher uses it to degrease in the kitchen. He degreases everything with vinegar. So I just laugh when those salespeople come by with them squirt bottles of an all-natural spray. Well, this all-natural spray, it'll clean grease off of anything, right? So vinegar will clean a lot of grease, and it's a really tough cleaner. But imagine ingesting that into your body. Like, we all know A1 steak sauce, if you pour it on a penny, the penny becomes super bright and it comes clean. And people say, well, what's that doing inside your system? Folks, A1 steak sauce is acid vinegar based. It does have some Worcestershire sauce in there, some other spices, but it is basically an acid based, like such as vinegar being one of the ingredients. Okay, next is water. And then we have more corn syrup. So there's corn, high fructose corn syrup, and then there's corn syrup. This thing is loaded, folks, with genetically modified foods. It's loaded with chemicals. It's loaded with a bunch of things. Modified food starch, salt. It contains soybean oil, hydrolyzed soy protein, which might be another name for MSG. Modified food starch, too. MSG goes by a lot of different names. Mustard flour. Now, folks, even mustard seeds are genetically modified. You have to buy a really high-quality mustard seed. We buy mustard. We buy a mustard that is organic, and a mustard seed that's organic, and mustard that actually is certified GMO-free. Some of the companies, like the big companies like Grey Poupon and Maille, they have no policy as far as telling their farmers no GMOs. So GMOs are probably getting into one of your favorite high-end mustards, just saying. And then probably, I don't know what kind of vinegar they put in there. Dried onions, dried garlic, natural flavor. Natural flavors in here, which could mean anything, folks. Red 40, there's the red dye to compensate for probably a not so good looking product, a not so good looking tomato. Blue 1, I'm not sure why Blue 1 would be in there. I guess to balance out the coloring, sort of like the rainbow, and add it in there and figure out what color they want. Extractives of paprika, potassium sorbate to preserve freshness. Now, folks, that's the standard barbecue sauce that you're getting when you go to a restaurant or something similar to that, unless the restaurant's making it themselves. If they're making it themselves and they're adding most likely ketchup, which has corn syrup in it, by the way, and maybe red dye, because if you're buying bulk ketchup, restaurant commodity ketchup, that has some of those particular ingredients in there, harsh vinegar. So even if a restaurant says, well, no, we're making it ourselves, what's actually going into it? So like cocktail sauce. I was shocked to learn way back when I learned how to make cocktail sauce in one of the hotels. You take a can of ketchup, and you take a can of chili sauce. You blend them together and add horseradish and sometimes a little lemon juice that the chef is on top of it, and that's cocktail sauce. I'm like, this is cocktail sauce. This seems like a scam to me. We're making our own cocktail sauce, but this is all that it is. So we make barbecue sauce here with organic molasses, organic tamari, GMO-free organic tamari, organic apple cider vinegar, GMO-free mustard, and a bunch of an organic ketchup, no corn syrup in it, organic ketchup product that we use, and then tons of spices of organic unirradiated spices like black pepper, paprika, cumin. The list goes on. There's chili powders in there. The list goes on of about 10 to 12 different spices that actually go into and including organic espresso. Touch of organic espresso. That's what's on our dry rub that goes on our barbecue meats here. So we take some of that dry rub and we actually add it right in. So folks, beware of, if you're concerned. If you're not concerned, then forget you watch this video. If you're not concerned about the food you put in your body. But if you are concerned, you have to be concerned at every single level of the food production and processing, because again, they can start out with the best ingredient with just, and I find a lot of places do this, and it drives me crazy. I see one restaurant posting, do you know we use all this local produce? And it's a local restaurant, and I turn around and I see what's going into their dumpster and their boxes, and it's not local produce. They're balancing it out, right? They're balancing it with some local produce, but as soon as you start putting statements on, did you know that we use mostly, we love using local produce, and while it's in season, we're using this, and this from this farm. And if you're gonna make a statement like that, then jump into your other ingredients. Look at your eggs. Make sure they're not concentration camp commodity eggs. Make sure you're not using commodity sugar. Look at every ingredient across the board, and restaurants don't do that. They just tout that 1 or 2 ingredients, that's 6 ingredients, or 12 ingredients that they're using. This is fresh, local, farm to table, and then they take it and they mix it with whatever they want. And it's great that they're supporting local. But I think there needs to be more accountability, and the point here that haven't made yet is that I need to make. There needs to be a certification for farm-to-table restaurants. There needs to be somebody, an organization that goes in and saying, okay, if you're going to say you're farm-to-table, you need to buy X amount of this. And we need to look at all of your local producers. And in the off season, make sure you're buying local cheese, local dairy, local flours, local grains, wherever you are in the country, local nuts if you're in a part of the country that has nuts. And figure out how much can we actually balance into your menu. Because California has a lot more options than New York. They can buy the almonds locally. But if I'm in New York and I want to buy almonds, I should be able to buy almonds from California, not buy cheap almonds from wherever. And same thing, honey. Every ingredient across the board should be analyzed. If you're saying you're farm to table, because there's really a lot more options than restaurants are willing to go out of their way to look for. There's a lot more options. I'll say this again. There's a lot more options than restaurants are willing to look for or willing to go out of their way to look for. There's tons and tons. I do with a farm hub. There's probably 40, 50 different farms posted this week of all things I can buy on a local 30, 40, 50 mile radius of here. That's right, that many farms with just that one farm hub that I can buy every week. In the wintertime, it slows down, but I can still buy kale all winter. I can still buy storage crops, potatoes, carrots, turnips, all kinds of squashes. I can buy apples all year long. I can buy apple cider all year long, fresh pressed apple cider from a farm up the road here because they have enough apples in storage to press cider all year long. It's a beautiful thing. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe, and when you go out, demand better food. Demand chemical-free, demand process-free, demand real food. Thanks for watching.